Hello, my name is Shaun Jester. I'm a board-certified obstetrician and gynecologist. It is my honor to be speaking to you today about who is my neighbor. With that, let's begin. So when I say who is my neighbor, what comes to mind? Where do they live? What age are they? And why are they your neighbor? If there's anyone watching this that doesn't know what I just did, I'd encourage you to talk to someone in the audience that's at least 40 years old. All right, so if we look in Webster's dictionary of the definition of neighbor, two things mainly will pop up. One is living close to each other. The other is our fellow man. Definition number two is what I would like us to redirect our attention and focus on for this talk. For our next slide, I'd like to take a look at what Jesus has to say on this subject. When we look at the words of Jesus in Luke 10:25 through 37, Bible Gateway, NIV version, it says this, verse 25 through 37. On one occasion, an expert in the law stood up to test Jesus. Teacher, he asked, what must I do to inherit eternal life? What is written in the law? He replied. How do you read it? He answered, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. You have answered correctly, Jesus replied. Do this and you will live. But he wanted to justify himself, so he asked Jesus, and who is my neighbor? In reply, Jesus said, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So too a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. Look after him, he said, and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have. Which of these three do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of robbers? The expert in the law replied, the one who had mercy on him. Jesus told him, go and do likewise. So you've probably heard this story many times. The danger in hearing it so many times is you become desensitized to the message. Tonight, I want to refocus on who is my neighbor, being a good neighbor, and why it matters. All right, so who are our neighbors here in Moore County? Obviously, the people living beside us, the people we see at the grocery store and go to church with, perhaps the people we meet at doggy days or the sip and shop or our church family. Those could be considered our neighbors. Other neighbors to consider, did you know that JBS employs 1,700 employees? And of those, 26 different languages are represented? Those could be our neighbors. Did you know that we have 9 times the normal rate of farmers in this community? A community of 21,000 people. Those are our neighbors. All right, so what makes a good neighbor? Going back to that parable that Jesus spoke on the Good Samaritan, the first 2 people, they kept the law, but they missed the intent, and thus they missed out on the blessing of service. I understand we all have good reasons in our mind for not helping others, but that doesn't mean those reasons are correct or right. In my opinion, everyone needs help sometimes. So we should be like the third person. The third person had sacrificial action. In other words, the key to being a good neighbor involves sacrifice, time, money, talents, comfort, and yes, even helping our enemies. James 1:27 in fact says, religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this, to look after orphans and widows in their distress and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. Again, NIV, Bible Gateway. Matthew 25:37 through 40 states it this way. On the day of judgment, per Matthew 25, then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you? The king will reply, Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. So clearly, we have a personal responsibility ourselves to be a good neighbor. Better yet, we are fortunate to live in a community that has an organization such as Carenet that we can partner with our finances, time, and prayer, who also helps meet these needs. So, how is Carenet a good neighbor? Probably the first thing that comes to your mind, their pro-life stance. This is one rope in the net that makes up Carenet. All right, while we're on the subject of pro-life, I'm curious, can anyone tell me who this is? I'll give you a clue. They were given a 0% chance of survival. This is Richard Scott William Hutchinson. He holds the record as the Guinness Book of World Records earliest surviving child, 21 weeks, 2 days, 340 grams. That weight's the same as 3/4 of a pound and is less than a can of Coke. That is astounding, as full term is 40 weeks. Here's a more recent picture of him in a car seat. Again, world's most premature baby, given 0% odds of survival, celebrating first birthday. And here is another example of a 21-week pregnancy. You've probably seen this picture before. This is the Hand of Hope picture by Michael Clancy. The infant's arm in the middle of the picture there, coming out on the doctor's finger, is Samuel Alexander Armis. The surgery took place back in 1999, so basically 22 years ago, give or take. He was 21 weeks at the time, and spina bifida lesion that they were trying to help with. I guess the big point of this picture is basically this: technology is catching up to what we already know. Life begins at conception. Okay, in this picture, you'll see a picture of Michelle. You may remember her last year as one of the video speakers. At that time, she had noted that she was considering abortion, but went on to make the decision with Carenet's help and the Lord blessing to, in fact, have her baby. And it's my honor to go on and show you Michelle, Kevin, and Adriel now. What a blessing to have them. Okay, guys, we said earlier that Carenet is pro-life, not just anti-abortion. The reason this is important is because one of the big criticisms against pro-life movement is saying that they only care about life in the womb and that they don't care about the infant or the mom afterwards. We need to forcefully refute that, because your Carenet goes above and beyond in this area. I'm going to show you why and how. So let's look at this Carenet together. We said a moment ago, pro-life, the first rope in the Carenet. They also do pregnancy tests. They do peer counseling. They do adoption agency referrals. They do abstinence counseling. They do post-abortion counseling. They do prenatal and parenting classes, fatherhood classes, Bible studies, emergency material assistance for infants, food assistance. Carenet also helps with the application process for women to get CHIP-P or pregnancy Medicaid, and to be seen by medical professionals to assure mom and baby are healthy. They also work with third parties, and with those third parties are able to help with early childhood intervention, family violence programs, healthy marriage program, healthy Texas marriage program, medical transportation program, nurse-family partnership, primary health care, special supplemental nutrition programs for women, infants, and children, i.e. WIC, supplemental nutrition assistance program, i.e. SNAP, temporary assistance for needy families, Title V prenatal child and health and dental, and in fact, in some cases, they provide assistance in rent, utility, and daycare costs in here in our community. On top of all of that, they hold a school drive and try to send 1,000 children back to school with items needed to succeed. Please take a good look, my friends. This is your Carenet. Your support sustains this safety net. Let me say on a personal note, as a healthcare provider in this community, I am so thankful to have this resource to refer patients to and to fill in critical gaps. All right, so why does this all matter? It matters because people deeply matter to God. In fact, they are so important, He died for us. Knowing we couldn't do enough good works to earn our way to heaven, He paid the price to restore a relationship with Him. He died for us. He was the perfect sacrificial lamb. Of course, we have to accept His gift, or else it wouldn't be free will. We see this displayed in John 3:16. For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in Him shall not perish, but have eternal life. The Bible goes on to say in Revelation 7:9, there will be lots of neighbors. Take a good look at this verse on the screen. In short, for those who have accepted His gift, when we get to heaven, there will be neighbors of every tribe, people, and language. We are the ones tasked with going unto all the world, preaching the gospel of Christ. Though many of us live lives that cannot go, we're fortunate here. In the words of Dr. Dillman, the world has come to us in Dumas, Texas, Cactus, Texas, Sunray, Texas, the Moore County community. Let me say that again. The world has come to us. So as I'm preparing to close tonight, I want to remind you of the starfish story by Lauren Isley. For those of you who attended the dinner, there was a starfish at your table that you could pick up and take home with you to help you remember this story. In short, a man was walking along the beach. Ahead, he saw a boy dashing back and forth in the sand. He smiled, thinking the boy was enjoying a game on a fine morning, so he hurried to catch up. As he got closer, he saw the boy picking something up out of the sand and gently tossing it into the sea. As he got closer to the boy, the man called out, "Hello, what are you doing?" The boy paused in throwing, looked up, and replied, "Throwing starfish into the sea. The sun is up and the tide is going out. If I don't throw them back in, they will die." But don't you realize that there are miles and miles of beach and starfish all along it? You can't possibly make a difference. After listening politely, the boy reached down, picked up another starfish, and gently tossed it into the sea and said, "It made a difference to that one." Go, find your neighbor. Thank you.